For 5 decades, he has been the most recognizable athlete on the planet. A figure who transcended sport, redefined excellence, and seemed to walk on water. But in the twilight of his career, Tiger Woods finds himself in the most unlikely of alliances. It's a friendship forged on the fairways and in the high-stakes corridors of power, a relationship with a man who is arguably the most polarizing figure in American history. The President of the United States. This isn't a story about politics. It's a story about a bond that has baffled the world, a connection that has only deepened as Tiger's life has grown more complicated. From the heights of a miraculous comeback that earned him the highest civilian honor, to the depths of a brutal injury and a shocking arrest in the dead of night. It's a relationship that is now defining the final chapter of his legendary career. As the golf world waits on the edge of its seat, desperate for one last glimpse of greatness, the world is asking one question. Why is Tiger Woods turning to Donald Trump? The answers will take you inside a world of pain, privilege, and a desperate fight for survival. This is the story of Tiger, the president, and the new battle for his legacy. The news broke on a Friday afternoon, sending shockwaves through the sports world and beyond. It wasn't a tournament victory or a major announcement. It was a police report. Tiger Woods, the 15-time major champion, had been involved in a serious rollover crash in Jupiter, Florida. He was arrested and charged with driving under the influence. For a man whose every move has been scrutinized for over 3 decades, it was a devastating public fall. But what happened in the immediate aftermath of that crash was perhaps more shocking than the incident itself. As police body camera footage would later reveal, the first thing Tiger Woods did after crawling from his wrecked vehicle was make a phone call. When officers approached him, he was on the phone, and he told them he was talking to the President of the United States. The images were surreal. There was Tiger, standing on a Florida roadside, telling a deputy sheriff that he was just talking with the president. Just days later, in an exclusive phone interview with the New York Post, President Trump confirmed the call, painting a portrait of a man in crisis. "I think he's doing great, he's doing good," Trump told reporters, revealing a conversation marked by empathy and a striking assessment of the golfer's condition. "He lives a life of pain," Trump said. "He has a lot of pain. He's an amazing guy. He's an amazing athlete. He does have pain." It was a moment that laid bare the shocking intimacy of this relationship. This was not a distant admiration between two famous figures. This was a call from the scene of a personal disaster to the most powerful man in the free world. In that moment, the bond between Tiger Woods and Donald Trump was no longer just a curiosity. It was a lifeline. To understand why Tiger Woods turned to Donald Trump in his moment of crisis, you have to go back to the beginning. Before the crashes, before the scandals, before the presidency, there was a mutual admiration that bordered on reverence. They were two men who had conquered their respective worlds with a singular, ruthless focus. Two men who understood the crushing weight of being the very best. Their friendship didn't start on a golf course, though that's where it would flourish. It started in the pages of magazines and on the television screens of a nation that couldn't get enough of either of them. Trump, the brash New York real estate mogul, saw in Tiger something he recognized: a winner, a killer instinct, a refusal to accept second place. And Tiger, in turn, saw in Trump a man who had built an empire out of sheer force of will, a man who played by his own rules and didn't care what anyone thought. The official handshake came in the late 1990s, when Trump began aggressively courting Tiger to play in his tournaments. Trump understood the value of association. Having Tiger Woods play on your course wasn't just about the golf. It was about the prestige, the legitimacy it brought to the Trump brand. He would regularly call Tiger, offering advice, lavish praise, and, most importantly, the use of his private jets. For Trump, it was about proximity to greatness. For Tiger, it was an alliance with power. But the real cement in their bond was laid during the darkest period of Tiger's life. In 2009, the world watched as Tiger's meticulously crafted image shattered in a firestorm of infidelity and scandal. He lost sponsors, he lost his marriage, and he nearly lost his mind. He retreated from the public eye, a broken man seeking to rebuild himself in the shadows. It was then that Trump reached out, offering a sanctuary. He invited Tiger to play at his courses, away from the prying eyes of the media. He gave him a place to heal. And when Tiger was ready to make his return to competitive golf, it was Trump who gave him the stage. He hosted the Tiger Woods Invitational at his Doral course in Miami, a made-for-TV event designed to reintroduce the world to a humbled, scarred, but determined Tiger. "I've known him a long time," Trump would say later. "We've always had a great relationship." But it was more than that. In the aftermath of his personal apocalypse, Tiger had lost a lot of friends. People in the golf establishment, the corporate sponsors who had once fawned over him, vanished. But Trump didn't. He saw a man at his lowest and offered a hand. That's not something Tiger forgets. For Trump, the loyalty was practical and personal. Tiger was a magnet for attention, a symbol of success that could only burnish the Trump mystique. But for Tiger, Trump was an island in a storm, a billionaire who didn't judge him for his sins, but celebrated his resilience. It was the foundation of a partnership that would only strengthen as the world grew more complicated around them. As Tiger's body began to betray him, with multiple back surgeries threatening to end his career, Trump was there again, calling, encouraging, and publicly predicting a comeback that most thought impossible. And when Tiger finally achieved the impossible, winning the 2019 Masters, it was Trump who was among the first to call, offering the ultimate validation, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. But that recognition would come with a price, a cost that would force Tiger to navigate a new, treacherous reality in a deeply divided nation. Just weeks after that emotional victory at Augusta, Tiger Woods walked through the gates of the White House. He was greeted not as a controversial figure, but as a conquering hero. The man who had been written off, whose body had betrayed him, whose personal life had been splashed across every tabloid, was now standing in the Rose Garden to receive the highest civilian honor in the United States, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It was a moment of astonishing validation. President Trump stood at the podium, beaming. "Tiger Woods is a global symbol of American excellence, devotion, and drive," he declared. "Your spectacular achievements on the golf course, your triumph over physical adversity, and your relentless will to win, win, win. These qualities embody the American spirit of pushing boundaries, defying limits, and always striving for greatness." The words hung in the air. This wasn't just a politician praising an athlete. This was a man who had spent years in Tiger's corner, publicly predicting his return when few believed it was possible, now bestowing the nation's ultimate civilian honor. For Tiger, the moment was deeply personal. He stood in a blue suit and red tie, a color combination that mirrored his famous Sunday red, the outfit that had become synonymous with victory. But this wasn't a tournament. There was no putt to sink, no leaderboard to climb. This was a recognition of a life, and the fight to reclaim it. When it was Tiger's turn to speak, his voice cracked with emotion. He thanked his mother, Kultida, who sat in the audience. His father, Earl, who had driven him so relentlessly, was no longer there to see this moment, and the absence was palpable. "My dad is no longer here, but my mom is here," Woods said, his eyes glistening. "I love you, Mom." He acknowledged the names that came before him: Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, and Charlie Sifford, the first black golfer to play on the PGA Tour, who had received the same honor from President Obama. Tiger spoke of Sifford with profound reverence. "He was like the grandpa I never had," Woods said. "I ended up becoming so close with him that I ended up naming my son Charlie after him. So to have been chosen as the next golfer after Charlie is truly remarkable." For a man who has always kept his emotions guarded, this was a rare moment of unguarded vulnerability. He had fought through scandal, injury, and the crushing weight of expectation. And in this moment, on the White House lawn, it all seemed to hit him. "You have seen the good and the bad, the highs and the lows," Woods said, looking out at the crowd. "I have tried to hang in there, and I have tried to come back and play the great game of golf again." But for all the celebration, a storm was brewing just beneath the surface. By accepting this honor from a president who had become the most polarizing figure in American politics, Tiger was stepping into a minefield. He had always tried to stay above the fray, famously avoiding political endorsements and keeping his opinions private. "No matter who is in the office, you may dislike personality or the politics, but we all must respect the office," he had said just months earlier. But in a deeply divided nation, respect for the office was no longer a neutral stance. It was a statement. The images of him standing beside Trump, smiling, accepting the medal, would be seen by millions. To some, It was a tribute to a deserving champion. To others, it was a betrayal. The questions began to circulate. Was Tiger choosing a side? Had his long friendship with Trump now become a political liability? Tiger remained silent, hoping his golf would speak for him. But the game was changing, and the alliances that had once seemed so simple were now more complicated than ever. The White House ceremony should have been the final chapter of a perfect redemption story. The Presidential Medal of Freedom, the adoring crowd, the tears in his mother's eyes. For a moment, it seemed as though Tiger Woods had finally conquered every demon, every injury, every scandal that had threatened to swallow him whole. But the darkness was only waiting. It always is. The years that followed were a cruel reminder that the body, no matter how legendary, has limits. Tiger's back, the source of so much pain throughout his career, continued to betray him. In March of 2025, just weeks before the Masters, he ruptured his Achilles tendon, forcing him to miss all 4 majors that year. Then came his 7th back surgery, a lumbar disc replacement in October, leaving him sidelined and fighting once again. But he kept pushing. The man who had crawled out of a wrecked car and won a major had done it before. He would do it again. By early 2026, there was hope. He was competing again, even playing in the TGL Championship in Palm Beach Gardens. His girlfriend, Vanessa Trump, was in the stands. His daughter Kai was cheering from the ropes. It looked like the beginning of yet another comeback chapter in his legendary story. Then everything fell apart. On March 27, 2026, Tiger Woods was driving his Land Rover on a residential road in Jupiter Island, Florida. He clipped a truck. The vehicle rolled onto its side. He crawled out through the passenger window. Nobody was seriously hurt. But when police arrived, they found a man struggling to stand, a man who had just been through yet another violent crash. And in his pocket, 2 pills identified as hydrocodone, a prescription opioid used for severe pain. What happened next would shock the world. Body camera footage would later reveal a scene almost beyond belief. As officers attempted to assess the situation, Tiger was pacing, agitated, distracted. He was on the phone. When an officer tried to get his attention, Tiger brushed him off with a name drop that would become the headline of every news outlet on the planet. "Yeah, I was just talking to the president," he told the officer. President Donald Trump. He was charged with driving under the influence with property damage and refusal to submit to a lawful test. He blew 0 on the breathalyzer, but the pills in his pocket told a different story. It was his 2nd DUI arrest. In 2017, he had been found asleep behind the wheel, with a cocktail of Vicodin, Dilaudid, Xanax, Ambien, and THC in his system. Now, history was repeating itself. The news broke like a thunderclap. Tiger Woods, the hero of the 2019 Masters, the recipient of the nation's highest civilian honor, was in handcuffs. His driver's license was suspended. His reputation was in tatters. 4 days later, he posted a statement. "I am stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on my health." He would miss the Masters, the US Open, the British Open, every single major of 2026. In the White House, President Trump was asked about his friend. "I feel so badly. He's got some difficulty," Trump told reporters. "There was an accident, and that's all I know. Very close friend of mine. He's an amazing person, amazing man. But some difficulty." The words were gentle, empathetic. But the damage was done. The man who had been handed a lifeline on a Florida roadside was now facing his darkest hour yet. And the question on everyone's mind was the same. Would he ever come back?